Yay. Okay. And we are live. Welcome, everybody. It is June 13th, and this is the OpenJS Foundation Standards Working Group meeting. We have a lot on our docket today, so let's kick off with some announcements. We had some that we were like, oh yeah, this can be public. Robin, any news?
We have some exciting news. We have a new security engineering champion at the OpenJS Foundation, your one and only Jordan Harband. Yay. So Jordan will be supporting the work of the Sovereign Tech Fund, that big investment from the German government for security and infrastructure. So, yay.
Very exciting. That is really wonderful, and just really exciting to see how all of this investment is going to help upgrade infrastructure for all of the OpenJS projects, which is desperately needed. And well, not desperately, it's needed to maintain and sustain our projects. So thank you, Jordan, and everybody. Other announcements, any other shares, project related shares? We'll get into the plenary reports if there are any. If there are any this week, but there's big project announcements.
Next TC39 plenary is in July, so there's some time for it.
10 months.
Yeah, I did a talk at JS Nation last week on what's new on Node, and then I did just blog a week before that on ECMA ES 2023, just about what are the new things that we have and some of the code samples and likes.
Awesome. I forgot that was last week. And also Render Atlanta. A lot of our friends were down there. So good energy happening in these community events lately. So, okay, cool. If no other announcements, we'll go into really quickly some plenary reports. So TC39 meets next week, you just said, Jordan? So nothing this week?
Next month.
Next month.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rick is pointing out that the General Assembly meeting for ECMA is in about 2 weeks, so end of this month. Really cool. So, and I also really cool, I don't know if we mentioned this, that Samina Hussein, the new Secretary General, was at and attended several of our OpenJS World sessions at Vancouver. So hopefully you all got to meet her. Donovan's not on from TC53, so we'll get that async from him. Anybody want to update on Winter? Yeah, cool. I mean, we can. Any updates from Winter?
Winter CG, Ethan?
Sorry. No, I don't think there's anything actual to share right now. We are looking forward to the Node.js Next 10 serverless event, and from a standards perspective, I don't think there's anything else happening. Oh, actually, there's a cool a pull request for the runtime keys proposal is being merged into Node.js, which is cool. In our Node.js docs, there was some discussion around, like, is it stable, yada yada. Like, it says it's a draft, and it's like, well, it can only ever be a draft because we're Winter CG. We're just a community group. We don't actually have the, I guess, like, permissions to like publish it. I guess, you know, we can publish it. We can't mark it as like not a draft. Language nuances are weird. I would say maybe another time, let me talk about this at Winter CG first, but maybe in the future, we're going to discuss what some of the future of that looks like. If we're going to start getting adoption in projects like Node.js, what could we do as like Winter CG, going from a community group to something greater to potentially get these things earning a different status?
Our W3C process experts aren't on the call today, but they could probably provide a good overview and a kind of historical understanding of why CGs are only able to publish draft documents. But that's exciting. though. It's really exciting to see a lot of community groups at W3C. They get together and they do a lot of discussion and sort of just kind of mind melding, but not necessarily to the point where documents are produced. So it is really cool to see Winter CG having impact so quickly and all that. So congrats to Winter CG group.
Thank you.
W3C, nothing at the big top level other than, you know, we're keeping an eye on the TPAC event. Robin and I have also been working with W3C, OWASP, OpenSSF, somebody else, I think, sorry, that on the Secure the Web Forward, and have some plans to do, rather than an in-person session, virtual kind of topic focused things. And I think once we have a better thematic kind of point of view, I think we're going to be asking this community in particular to help source great people to come and kind of share and be part of that. And Jordan is, I think this is your job now. So Jordan, yeah, you'll be part of that as well. So I think that's but the TPAC event is, I think, the thing that's most salient coming up from W3C. Anything? Toby's not here for OSI. I think that's all of our groups. Yes, Samantha.
Are there folks here who are interested or work with policies? Because I was at a closed panel discussion last evening with folks from Google, where they're working with individuals from different communities and FOSS and open standards, specifically for government affairs and public policies. So it would be great if we could provide kind of inputs from our end, because they're shaping some of the government policies and we could be pretty influential there.
So a lot of, I don't know that we within OpenJS, I don't think that we've like done.
We've signed some things. We've signed and supported like the industry effort around the Cyber Resilience Act with Open Forum Europe and the LF. We haven't really, you know, dug deep on any other big policy issues. Do you know what it's kind of centered on?
It's pretty open-ended at this point of time, because MLA is kind of the hot topic. The discussions were around that, and also some of the web standards and how we can kind of bridge the gaps between them, and what basically works in the free and open world, and how the policies that might eventually shape the new technologies still adhere to some of the philosophies of free and openness is what the hot topic of discussion was.
Love to learn more. Yeah, if you want to loop us in.
Yeah, definitely. I'll drop a mail, CC you folks.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's all of our, and Emily is usually the updater for Unicode. I think, though, that's it for the folks that are on the call. Let's dive into our agenda, unless there's any other announcements or shares. Sharing is caring. So we have some new member pull requests, 3 of them to be exact, and I'm very excited about all of them. I think all of these have been open for what I will call a hot minute. And I just like to take time during the call to welcome and +1 and merge these in. First, Rick Markins. Hi, Rick. We're thrilled that you're here, and so grateful you got involved and got plugged in, especially as part of the OpenJS world. Welcome, Rick. I'm going to hit merge.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Likewise. Next up is Darcy Clark. Darcy has often been on the calls. Doesn't look like Darcy's here today. His co-founder Luke is, however, LOL. That's a joke. Darcy, I just realized like this is recorded and people might not understand that was a joke. So Darcy has been certainly really a valuable contributor and participant in certainly in recent conversations about Node and NPM and then package conversation. So I think Darcy also I met Darcy on the jQuery project like 100 years ago. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, Joe.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't really mean to interrupt. Are you done with the welcomings and stuff? Sorry.
I can be, yeah.
Okay. Well, because it's I was just talking to Ben about this in a Slack channel not long ago about adding folks to the teams. And I just thought I'd mention, like, I don't know if we probably have to add them to GitHub teams. I don't know if there's any standards email lists, but we should add folks to that. And I kind of am bringing this up in the sense that if anybody has any thoughts on how to make some of this stuff work better, because I've had in the CPC members added because other folks just go in and merge. Oh, great. Yeah, let's add, Jordan or whatever. And then we forget to like do all the other things. So if there's any like GitHub tooling that folks recommend for like, alerting things or blocking things until lists are added or whatever, that would be great. I just thought I'd put that out there since it's on my mind.
Let's definitely make a note in here, like as part of like our process to make sure that these folks are added to our Slack channel if they're not already there. I think everybody here is. And then also, to your point, the standards team group in which I think Jordan helped to, somebody did, I think it was Jordan, helped to organize for us and tidy up, which folks who are added to the standards team just have elevated permissions on the standards repo, because obviously that makes sense. I don't think we use, if we have a standards distro list, I don't think it is used. I've never used it. We could, if this group wanted to have a discussion list outside of the Slack channel, but I frankly kind of like the Slack channel and I don't know that we've had a great need for a list, but that's, my 2 cents, but of course I could be convinced otherwise.
Well, and I'm sure there's existing tooling. I know the CNCF has a lot of automation around permissions and team lists. I only looked into it briefly when I was doing similar stuff for OpenSSF, but it would be pretty easy to define a single source of truth for arbitrary teams. And then when you edit that file, it just, the GitHub action goes out and updates the GitHub team. It updates the README list, and so then we just don't have to think about it if this is a problem.
We do have an email alias for standards. It's in our groups.io, which is being ported into an LFX tool, but it's mostly accurate. We have some updating to do, but it's close.
Rick?
Hey, sorry, I was kind of chatting it in there because I didn't want to derail, but I posted that, we built a tool that managed GitHub orgs because we have a few across the GoDaddy spectrum when we acquire folks and whatnot, that we manage it via these TOML files and use this sort of a CLI, and we use actions and stuff to automate it. So like your PR is open, you merge it in, kicks off the stuff. So I don't know, very interested. And that tooling might be beneficial. We open sourced it for that reason because there's definitely a lot of need around that basis of managing open source GitHub organizations. So just something to consider.
Yeah.
Let's file an issue to just have, that you, Rick and Jordan can just like kind of zero in on options there. I do think it'd be great just to be able to merge something in and bam, have that problem solved, and we don't have to worry about like, oops, I didn't give Darcy write access. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you could
Um,
create the issue maybe in the CPC repo, because I think that's where we have a larger need, and then we can just make sure we apply the same sort of thing to standards as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Action, open issue. All right, now back to thanking and praising Darcy, who is not here, so maybe his ears will burn. I'm gonna hit merge pull request on Darcy's PR. Welcome Darcy to the fun club. That's what we call ourselves, right? Okay. And then last but not least, Sindil. Sindil has also been a long contributing member to the OpenJS community. What I love about Sindil is just like, all of us have, times where we are peaking and we're here a lot, and then stuff happens at work and then we're a little less available. But Sindil is always like, we just pick up right where we leave off with Sindil. He's always following and keeping in touch, even if he's not able to make it. So really grateful that he is here. We got some merge conflicts on this, but I will fix the conflict on his PR and get him merged in. So just want to say welcome, Sindil. Cool. All right, so those are our new members. Other just housekeeping bits, there's some housekeeping PRs as well. A couple of meeting minutes. Was there's action on one. Looks like resolved, so no issues. If no issues, I'll merge the outstanding minutes PRs. Okay, hearing none, I will get those in now. And then that brings us to the topic that has been tabled for the last couple of weeks, but has been, I think, really important for this group to sort of be able to better articulate and support the community members who want to interact and contribute with us. And this, of course, is issue number 173, terms for subject matter expert participation. I was able to spend a couple of hours a few weeks ago and added some PRs to address 173. If you recall from our conversations with Leah, with Guy, and with many others, this sort of like, hey, we're so glad you're here, but we just need to understand a little bit better, what is this group doing, and how can we better explain to like our fellow participants in the working groups and to our fellow community members within our projects, how it is that this group supports and serves. So I opened 2 PRs, and I think I might ask us to look at PR number 239 first. This is update member representation. And this was a file that we created to start to just document where people who are present and participating in the standards working group, or really maybe they're not here all the time, but they're very active within standards in the web world writ large. Where are those folks participating, so that if our community members have questions, want to meet someone, make a network connection, ask a question, get some mentorship, all of that kind of thing, where are these resources within our community? And so we started this file. And I made some changes that I hope maybe organize it a little bit better, and also express kind of a little bit further where the OpenJS Foundation has some formal relationship, either as a member or as a liaison. So yeah, that is this
Oh, you-
PR, and I would love your thoughts. Sorry, Jordan.
No, that's fine. I'm trying not to interrupt. So I was saying this is great. It looks better. The thing that I think we need to preserve is that this is not a list of official OpenJS representation. This is like a list of the official participation that OpenJS affiliated people happen to have. And so if you see someone's name on this list, that does not mean necessarily that they are an OpenJS rep or something, but it does mean that they are part of OpenJS and also are part of that group.
Yeah, and so you made that point, and I realized I didn't update it also on TC on another one. I think that it might be helpful then to maybe in parens or something
100%.
document the affiliation so that it can be a little bit more clear for because I think it's a very valid point that we wouldn't want the assumption to be that like OpenJS has signed, IP on agreements on behalf of this person.
We could even do something as trivial as stick a tiny OpenJS logo in front of each name where that relationship is official as opposed to like simply overlapping. And just put a little legend at the top. This denotes such and such. Like even that would be fine. If you want to do stuff in parens, that's fine too. Like I don't have a strong opinion about how it looks. It's just that we want to make sure that we keep the value of listing all the affiliations and also avoid the problem of implying that someone is an official representative when they're not.
I like that proposal and also help. Actually, I like that. I like the little addition of the icon as a means to do that. Because then it still permits us to add if there is a company or corporate affiliation, that as well, which I think is good. So let's add that. And
that sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
And I think for corporate affiliation, like it's fine if people want to put that, but I would hope that isn't the default because standards work tends to cross employer gaps, and having to keep those things updated over time is annoying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is true. I just again want to, in some of these cases, people might be sensitive that, they're there and they can be part of any conversation that impacts an OpenJS project, but they're actually there wearing because Microsoft is for example, sending them to participate.
Yeah.
So we should, that also when we do make that acknowledgement, our members really appreciate that. So
that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so great suggestion. We'll make that improvement. And then, my thought was just then as a process, from a process standpoint, if there's a new organization that OpenJS projects or community members think that we should be affiliating with, it's a pull request into, this file and a discussion of like who is going to be kind of interfacing with the organization on our behalf and all that. But I suppose one thing we can do is an ongoing basis, make sure there's nobody missing from this. The other thing we can do is look at some of this is kind of old, and I'll point to like the W3C category by way of example. We have a lot of affiliated accounts, people who were part of I think a lot of these people like Anne and Scott Gonzalez, for example, from the jQuery community back in the day, like eons ago. And these are affiliated on the W3C registration site with OpenJS, but frankly, probably we need to unaffiliate, right, as a matter of housekeeping, because they're no longer with the project, and so just kind of helps us surface that too. Other thoughts or comments or anything? Well, I can make the fix for the icon and leave it open another week or so for comment. And all right, dope. Then the next file PR actually is 240. So this document tried to capture some of the bigger conversation that we've had with the group over the last several weeks about sort of, what are we, who is this group of people? What are they sort of tasked with doing? Who can come? What are some of the like processes that we have effectively adopted, but not necessarily documented well, and that sort of thing. I also tried to disambiguate some language. I'm just seeing that Toby has added some comments. Oh goodness, that was a big exchange I didn't see 5 days ago. Sorry about that, Toby and Jordan. So this one looks like it might be open for a little bit more more discussion.
Actually, Toby and I think resolved our misunderstanding. I think we're both on the same page, and Toby was unaware of the previous discussion we'd had on issue 84 around this stuff. So it sounds like it's not going to be controversial to lay things out as indicated in that discussion thread, but there was just some confusion about the terminology. I think we can bike shed that, but like the specific name for subject matter expert or invited expert, or I don't know, whatever the, a person who's like a delegate, an official representative versus a person who is merely overlapping, right? Like I don't think we have like the only terms I have for those are TC39 terms, and I don't think we have universal ones. And the way Toby was using terms was confusing to me initially. So that was why we had to have a back and forth. So, but yeah, I mean, it can stay open a little longer to deal with the bike shed, but I don't believe there's any other point of contention between him and I. And then he has 2 other or 3 other comments that there's no responses to. Yeah.
So I think given the open comments from Toby, we should probably, which I should kind of comment back on some of his questions and make sure that my responses kind of satisfy the concerns. I guess since he's not here to discuss, let me just take it up a level. And for those of you who have had a chance to review the PR, and particularly those of you who are like, Ethan and others who are really approaching this group from the standpoint of, as a XYZ project member, how can I best interact with and engage this group of people? Does the document begin to start in its revised shape? Does it start to answer some of the questions or some of the needs that you all have for, basically providing better guidance, right? And so to you and to the projects. So let me just ask that question.
This is the document I'm following along the member representation one in particular.
Yeah, and 240 is the PR. So the file change is there are, I think, 2 files changed. One is member expectations, and the other is governance. Governance basically, in that file, I just brought some stuff out of governance and into the member expectations, where I thought that was a more accurate place for that content to be. For example, around participating in standards working group meetings, external meetings, and then yeah, and then just sort of better clarification around some of the language that we've been using to describe how we work and what our group does. Let me leave this open a few more days for folks to just make sure that they have had a chance to review. Again, the overall goal here is to clarify, hopefully simplify, hopefully, and make it a bit more straightforward for project communities under the OpenJS wing to say, we have a thing that we would like to intersect with. How can we use this group? How can we engage with this group? Or how can we best on our own go intersect with XYZ, technical committee, and know that we've got the support of the foundation and the resources here. So so especially to the newer attendees, this PR is for you. Let me know how to make it a little bit more, or let us know how to make it a little bit more useful.
Sounds good. I will. Yeah, I'll take a look at this and if I'll leave any feedback if I find anything necessary.
Amazing. Okay. So that those are the big pieces of recent work. So let me go back then into issues, and let's since the package JSON folks are here. 233 was not tagged for the agenda today, but we've got several minutes left in this meeting, and there's been a lot of conversation on that issue thread. So let me invite Ethan, if you'd like to maybe give us a summary of where that discussion is and kind of what next steps are, so we can kind of either create a ticket or help facilitate the next set of things. Ethan, you want to?
Sure. Yeah. I guess sort of a state of affairs. We just previous to this call were on the CPC working session.
Oh yeah.
And we discussed a new approach and some new objectives, essentially under the ethos of standardizing and specifying package JSON. We're looking back on where did it come from and why was that a problem, or like sort of like where was the prompt for everything, and then we took that and we started designing or outlining new objectives towards that goal. And those objectives are no longer as simply just standardizing or specifying package JSON. We have more smaller goals that we're going to be working towards and things, but all in all, it's still under the umbrella of that, is that we want to help solve some of the pain points around the fact that the document is used to configure and specify our JavaScript projects all across the industry, the ecosystem. And there is very little consensus on how tools handle certain things, mainly because of just historically NPM and Node existing for longer than everyone else and just not having to consider alternatives because they were the only two tools. But we are now in a future where there are more than just Node and NPM. And so working slowly and carefully towards a better collaboration will be good. Directly for the standards working group, I don't know what process we want to follow. We can close that issue and I can open a new one when the time is right. I could post this similar kind of a status message on that issue and on other similar issues like the one in the CPC group. I don't know if it's better to have long opened issues or try to close things and reopen things when relevant. So whichever is preferred.
That's a great question, and kind of speaks to the fact that we've never quite figured out how we want to what's the word I'm looking for, like track state, if you will, of these different initiatives that people have come and spoken with us about, because frankly, I would see that as sort of a metric of success for this working group, for the standards working group here. You know, are we helping projects like this, like launch / find successful outcomes and, you know, and things like that. We had conversations about polyfills. We've had conversations about other efforts from other projects and testing and that sort of stuff. But I don't think we've done a great job with kind of tracking those things over time and checking in and seeing where the support we can provide might be. I think I speak for everyone. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't. My personal preference is not to have a 400 issue comment long thread that's 5 years old, for example. I tend to prefer issues that are fairly tightly scoped, great, problem solved, close the issue. In practice, we're sort of somewhere in between on our repo, but I'd love for us to personally, I'd love to be a little bit more concise and focused. Cool. So I'm for closing this issue, finding a way to better keep abreast of what you guys are doing, and then also having you open additional issues when there's time, when the time is ripe for better conversation. But I'm keen for Jordan or Luke or Rick or anybody to
and maybe just keeping people updated on where the conversation's taking place. So if they're interested, they can join in too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I am +1 on that, Jory. I think one thing I forgot to mention is that we do intend to share like an update of what we're doing next in 2 weeks' time at this meeting, because we wanted to have a reasonable deadline essentially for ourselves of what work are you doing, what can you present, and so we tried to find the best meeting that suits that need, and that would be 2 weeks, the standards call. Whether or not we're defining a standard, no, but like, are we doing work within the bucket of standardizing package JSON? Yes. So I will go ahead and I will communicate some of that on the current issue thread. I'll close that out, and then maybe we'll definitely open a new one that we can then add an agenda label to, and yeah, we can try and be a little more atomic with these communications.
Brilliant. I like that. And then we'll also, I think, again, try and think about ways to, I think we all want to do things that are impactful, right? And that drive support and outcomes for our projects and for our community members. And I think I'd love to figure out how to just lightweight, right? I don't love putting process or extra steps on people. I think that sucks because I don't like it on me personally. But lightweight, keep track of like, you know, how things are progressing and ways in which we can either offer help or, you know, review or pull in more people or whatever you need. You know, that's kind of the one of the goals of this group is to make standards development like a fun thing to do and an easy and pleasant thing to do. So we want to try and help make this as whatever the outcome might be, and make the process one that we all like enjoyed and learned from. So super duper. We are 10 minutes to close. That was all of the items that we had tagged for agenda this week. Is there any other business to bring forward today? If not, I just realized I have a couple of reminders for y'all. Okay, my reminders are that we got a couple of holidays coming up in the next month. Juneteenth, and that's next Monday. If you have project meetings on the 19th of June, you may consider rescheduling, as that is a holiday that is increasingly observed by our community. And then also July 4th, which is a Tuesday this year. That'll be here in like a hot minute. And that's Tuesdays are big OpenJS meeting days. So that's another day to just bear in mind. It won't impact standards working group because we're on sort of the off week. So we'll see everybody on the 27th before that holiday. But just as an FYI, a couple of holidays coming up may impact your community calls too. Before that surprises you, you can preemptively go, ha, cool, I can move this. Yes, 50% of the year is done, and I cannot believe it. Like, that is wild. Cool. All right. Well, if there is no other business, I will adjourn us for today. And I want to thank everybody for joining. Oh, Luke, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just new to looking at these calendars. I wanted to make sure I have the right thing. Ethan, you said our package JSON update is in 2 weeks. I see a CPC meeting on that day and standards. Okay, no, I'm looking at the wrong. So I do see a CPC one on the 27th. Is that the one, or there's also a standards working group meeting? Will both of those be package JSON related?
No, so the CPC is a working session, which would
Okay.
which would, as far as I understand, will be defined the week prior. Considering that it's a working session, I didn't want to just say that is when we are going to present our work. When the standards group is happening, where we can provide a general update. If maybe next week at the CPC meeting, we determine that there's if nothing else is needing a working session, maybe we can use and schedule that working session for package JSON work. I didn't want to bog that down, but you are looking at the right calendar. There are 2 meetings. It's a working session meeting, which is I didn't want to preemptively take for package JSON, and so we can discuss that next week.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for the clarity
Or
there.
you should make a plug for your standards calendar if folks are not aware.
Oh yeah, and we do have another calendar that I think I've even copied it into the public calendar, but we also maintain a calendar, and I'll drop a link to that soon, that has all of the events that are standards related events. So the TC39 plenaries, for example, W3C meetings, conferences, TPAC, the Winter CG meetings are in there as well. And that's just to ideally help us be planful and if we're lucky, avoid meeting conflicts, which are sometimes aplenty in this space. Let me hit get shareable link, copy link, and it is here. And maybe make sure that is actually sourceable from the README on the main on the GitHub repo too. So if you're ever curious, like when is the next TC53 meeting? Well, we got a whole like a calendar for that. It also helps us then think of oh, is there an opportunity for us to co-locate an event with that and just bring more people together. So all right, super productive session. Thank you all very, very much. Please file atomic issues and tag them. And welcome again to our newcomers. And